Well, hey guys, we are officially in day one of shelter in place, and I am super excited about it, as I'm sure you are too. In all seriousness, though, I hope you guys are doing well, taking care of yourselves. If you need anything, we have a lot of people that can help with needs. Get in touch with us on our Facebook page, Facebook group, email, call, text, whatever you need to do. We've had some really generous offers for people to grab some groceries, to make some phone calls, to do whatever we need to do. So I continue to pray for you and hope that this is a time for you to refresh in some ways, to spend time with your family, spend time with God, and just to grow in a pretty difficult time, if we're honest. As a church, if you're wondering what we're going to be doing, we will continue to do services the way we have for the last couple of weeks. We talked to the mayor's office, and even with the shelter-in-place orders, we're allowed to go and continue to do what we're doing as long as we practice social distancing while we're doing it. So we are going to continue to have our online services just the way we have been, and I hope that you're going to join us. We are about to enter into Holy Week. I want to tell you a little bit about that, but I mentioned during our service last week about volunteer opportunities in our city. And to be honest, we've been spending a lot of time on this week. Things are changing on a daily, sometimes hourly basis based on what the needs are, what we're allowed to do. We're not allowed to do a whole lot, but there are still a lot of hungry people, a lot of people who are struggling through this time. So I want to let you know about a few things you can do coming up in this next week. The normal Hamilton County food disbursement is not going to be handled the way it has been because we're in spring break. So the buses are taking a break, and the YMCA is, for the most part, taking over for this next week with lots of agencies working together just to provide care. So I'm going to put all these on our website, but so you know, the United Way and the City of Chattanooga are working together, trying to get as many people to make calls to our senior citizens in our communities as possible. Now, they have organized this really well. They have put together a website where you can find all the information. You do have to apply. After you submit an online form application, then you're going to get a phone call. And on that phone call, they'll talk you through all of the things that this entails. You also will have a lot of resources that you can use, and you'll go through a call list and just reach out to those who are 60 or over, find out how they're doing, just be a friendly voice, find out if they have needs. Many of the needs are being routed over to the United Way through 211. There are also several resources if there's a concern that you have on a call, or if someone has a greater need than 211 can handle, you can reach out to the United Way and they will follow up with that person as well. I'll put that link in the description of this video as well as on our website. Another opportunity is serving at the YMCA. There are several groups that are working together to do that, and there is an online sign up because they are trying to still practice social distancing while feeding as many kids as possible. I will put that link in this description. And then all of the agencies that are providing food are in need, all of them. They need volunteers and they need donations. They're not looking for food donations necessarily. They are looking for money, because they can purchase food, a lot more food for a lot less money than if we go out and buy the food and then bring it to them. So the Chattanooga Food Bank, a lot of their volunteers on a normal basis are senior citizens. They can't get out. They've lost a lot of their volunteer base. So that's a great opportunity for you to jump in and get involved. That link is also in the description. And I hope that if you're able, you have some time, and you're feeling well. All of these in-person volunteer opportunities, you need to be healthy and not at risk. So if you are a senior citizen yourself, maybe make some calls to other senior citizens. Don't show up to volunteer. But all those links are in our description. If you have any questions, you can message me. I'll be glad to get you connected. We'll keep that updated because Things literally are changing on an hourly basis. So that's what we're doing this. That's what we're doing this week. I'll let you know about the rest. Sunday, we are going to be celebrating Palm Sunday. It's going to be different. I'm not really excited that we can't be together as a family for Sunday worship, for Palm Sunday or for Easter Sunday. But we are working on some things to make it as reflective and as special a time for you and your family. I hope that you will join in and do that. Today, on the church calendar, is sometimes referred to as Lazarus Saturday. And Lazarus Saturday is the day before Palm Sunday. It is the day that we read, especially in the Gospel of John, about Lazarus being raised from the dead. I want to mention a little more about that in just a minute. But just to give you an idea of where we're headed and ways you can be involved, we have Palm Sunday tomorrow. As I mentioned last week, we're going to be celebrating communion together. So if you don't have your communion supplies, which is bread and some kind of juice, it can be literally anything. If you have crackers, if you have water coming out of the tap, you can celebrate that with us. I do have some of the single-serve communion cups. Some have asked about those. I can get those to you. Either you can swing by the house, I'll set them out on the porch and you can pick them up. Or if you can't get out, I can possibly swing by and bring them to you. I'm not sure, but you really can use anything you have at the house, and at this point I would probably encourage you to do that. So we're going to celebrate that together as a church, you at your house, me, Scott, and some of our team that are pulling off the online services. We're going to celebrate it together, but we're going to practice social distancing in that. We won't be sharing a common cup together, but I would encourage you to take that opportunity, gather those supplies so that when we meet tomorrow morning that you can take part in that. We're going to do that probably a couple of more times this week. And around Easter is such a crucial point for us to recognize our relationship and communion with Christ, that we often take communion several times. Usually we'll take it on Maundy Thursday, which would be the Thursday before Easter. That would be the official end of Lent. If you have restricted yourself outside of all of the other restrictions placed on us, then that will officially end on Maundy Thursday. We'll have a video. We'll talk a little bit. We're not going to do a service that day, but that is a great time for you to spend with your family taking communion together. Friday will be Good Friday, and I am going to do something. I may have some others join me to do an online Tenebrae service. Tenebrae literally means darkness, and it is historically celebrated by many churches on Good Friday as what is called a service of shadows. It's a reading through the Good Friday events with a number of candles, and with each event a candle is snuffed out. At the end, the service ends in darkness, and it reminds us of how dark everything was when Christ was crucified. It is supposed to be preparatory, not anxiety-filling, so it reminds us to be even more joyful when Easter Sunday comes. It's another great opportunity to take communion together. And then Easter Sunday, we're going to be having a special Easter service, and I need your help. So here's what we would like to do. In addition to worship and teaching, we're going to incorporate some videos from you. Now, here's what I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to get your family together, or if no one wants to do it but you can do an individual video, and I'd like for you to answer one of three or two or three of three questions as a family. And then I want you to send those videos to me, and we're going to incorporate them in the service on Sunday in our live stream. Super excited about that. So you have a week to do that. Set some time aside. The questions I'd like for you to answer is, one, how are you spending Easter together? Are you doing anything special as a family? I hope that you're going to be taking communion with us, and you're joining us for our live stream. But what else? What else are you doing special as a family, particularly to celebrate the resurrection of Christ? Another question that you can answer is, what does Easter mean to your family? It's very likely that Easter has some different significance this year than normal. I'd love to hear what this Easter means to you and to your family, and would love to have you share those with us. The third question that goes along with that is simply this: is there a deeper meaning for the resurrection for you based on all of this with the coronavirus? Is there something that means more to you, or you see differently, or you're going to see the world differently from this point moving forward? I would love to hear your responses. Shoot that video. You can use your phone. Email that to me, mark@journeychattanooga.com. If you have a problem getting the video to me, then let me know, and we will create a solution for you to send that video. And we're going to compile those and show some of those next week. I hope it's a time for you to see each other, to have more engagement among our community, and just to see each other's faces. I would love for everyone to take part in that. Today, as you're going about your day, we're going to be working outside some today. We've been working on our house some, trying to clean up, get ready for spring, which probably many of you are doing. We have a few more days of sun before the rain sets back in. So we're going to do that today. But I wanted to remind you that the Saturday before Palm Sunday is actually a pretty important day in the history of the resurrection. And that is because it is the day that Jesus got word that Lazarus, his friend, had died, the brother of his good friends Martha and Mary. If you'll remember their story, especially the meal in which Jesus comes to their house, and Martha's busy fixing all the food and getting everything ready, and Mary's just sitting at Jesus' feet listening to him. She breaks a bottle of perfume, pours it over his feet. Martha gets super upset because she thinks that she should be out helping her. Judas gets super upset because he thinks it's a huge waste of a very expensive perfume. So Jesus has a very special relationship with his family, and then Jesus has just this wonderful, tender moment with Mary and Martha where he just says, what Mary is doing is good. I am here with you now. You should enjoy the time that you are with me. Don't give Mary a hard time, because she is choosing to spend every moment with me that she can, which reminds us in our busyness to spend every moment with Christ that we can. John 11:4 says, when Jesus heard it, being that Lazarus had died, he said, this illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Jesus knew what he was going to do here. This was going to be a significant moment for the disciples and for his friends, for Lazarus and his family, to see that Jesus truly was the Son of God. In verse 21, Martha says to Jesus, she's a little upset with him, says, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And she said to him, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. This is a moment that Martha has with Jesus, and it's just a beautiful moment, affirming who he is, her faith in him, and believing what Jesus is saying is true. In verse 33, we jump down, and then Jesus, as he comes up and he sees Mary, Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, and he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, where have you laid him? They said to him, Lord, come and see. And Jesus wept. What a beautiful picture of Jesus' humanity, his love, the love that God shares for us, that when he sees suffering, he suffers with us. When he sees mourning, he mourns with us. And when he sees all of this mourning for Lazarus and that his friend has died, Jesus himself mourns and Jesus weeps. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also have kept this man from dying? So even then, in the midst of all of this, there are those who are skeptics of Jesus. In verse 38, Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. And Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead 4 days." And Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me," which is crucially important to understand why Jesus is choosing to do this right now. Because he wants them to truly believe what he's about to say and what he's about to do, and is foreshadowing Jesus walking out of the tomb himself just a few days later. "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." And the man who died came out, his hands and feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." What a beautiful picture of love and the power of God in the midst of great sorrow and death. Something that he was going to facilitate again in just a few days with his own life. We're going to be looking forward to talking about that through Holy Week, which begins tomorrow when we'll follow through Easter. And as we do this, I want you to remember, if you read on further in the story, you'll find that it is this event that leads the religious leaders to decide Jesus has to go. If Jesus can raise a dead man from the grave, he has to go. And in fact, this is the instance that leads to his arrest, and it leads to his torture and his crucifixion, and sets the tone for the resurrection that brings salvation to us all. So as you go through your Saturday today, I hope that you will just remember the power of God, even in the midst of all the events happening in our lives right now, and know that he has a special place for you in his heart. He sees you, he is working in you, and he wants to celebrate with you that we ourselves can overcome death. I love you guys. Hope you have a great day. I'm looking forward to worshiping with you tomorrow, and I will see you soon.